Hey, everybody. Welcome to another live question and answer period. Doing this for the 19th time, I think. I keep forgetting the number. I believe it's 19 now times, and I'm really excited to be with you today. I've got 4 questions that were asked of me on a webinar yesterday that I'm going to answer, but we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about, hopefully remote related, but really you can ask me any question and we'll try to take care of that. If you are on YouTube or you are on Facebook, I can see those questions. But if you're on LinkedIn, hi, LinkedIn, everybody. I have my able assistant, Marissa. Marissa, say hello.
Hello.
Who will be monitoring there, making sure I see your comments and asking the questions that you asked there. I'm very excited to have you join us. And we're going to get started. So the little thing scrolling across the bottom, I'll mention that quickly, then I'll get rid of it. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, wherever you're watching, you can join us then. Or you can go to kevineichenberry.com/live. And what are we doing? I have 2 guests with me. We're going to talk about dealing with the challenges that we're facing if we're a parent and we're trying to work and we're trying to teach school all at once. So we're calling this juggling the balls you can't drop. And we're really hoping to provide some insight, to provide some acknowledgement, to help people who are in this challenging situation be more successful. It is absolutely our goal to do that for you. And so if you'll join us tonight, you can share your insights, your ideas as well. They've got a couple of guests. It's going to be really, really great. And I hope that you'll join us. But I have questions that need to be answered, right? And so let's get to those. And again, if you have one that you'd like us to talk about, just ask and we'll get them on here in real time. But here's a question that Tanya asked me yesterday. She goes, how do you force focus on a project that you are burned out on but need to push through? Well, it's a perfectly fair question. It's some place that many of us have probably been. I don't know how much of it is just about the remote nature. So let's talk about it in general for a second, and then maybe what's the remote nuance, right? So we've probably all been there on the project. I think the biggest thing that we can do is we can remind ourselves of the purpose of the project. Let's make sure we're crystal clear on why we're doing this in the first place. Who's it going to benefit? How will they benefit? How will it help our organization? And if we can get ourselves refocused on that and out of the frustrations and the challenges and the delays and everything else, we've got a chance to get ourselves back on track. If we're the leader of that project and we feel that way, others likely do as well. Acknowledge that and help people get back on track. In the current time, if you're dealing with this, the reality could be that that the project might not have the same priority that it had before. Right? And so let's make sure that it is the right thing for us to be working on. If it is, then all the stuff I just said applies. If it is, we may need to get a bit of help from someone else on the team to help us get ourselves refocused and reminded. If it's a project that's been put on the shelf and is now coming back out, rearing its ugly head again now that we're working remotely, because we've been telling people for 4 weeks now that as priorities change, you may be able to go back to projects that you've put on the shelf. So if that's the situation, just make sure that everyone is crystal clear on the why, crystal clear on the purpose, and try to get a fresh start on it. Really, if that's the case, really think about how we're going to restart it, how we're going to get everybody up to speed, making sure that the assumptions we made at the start of the project before still apply, and all of those things. So there's some questions there, and or some answers there. Okay, cool. I don't see anything that's come in from LinkedIn, or I don't have anything from anywhere else right now, except for some thumbs ups and such, which we appreciate. So let me go on to the next question. A little bit more of a potpourri tonight. I'm kind of in a Jeopardy mood because we've been watching the college championships this week. If you've watched the college Jeopardy championships this week, just give us a hello or something like that. My daughter's excited because the school where she attends, the words of which I don't like to use, I call it that school down south, has one of the finalists. And it's actually pretty exciting to have a finalist from the Indianapolis area in the finals. Here we go. Colleen asked this question. Do you have suggestions for leading interactive, engaging, and fun activities during Zoom staff meetings? Well, we've talked about this on a few of the other of these live events, but I know that not everyone's watching and consuming all of them. So let me just say a few things. Since Colleen specifically said Zoom, let me tell you one of the things I like about Zoom that not all of the platforms have. I love that Zoom and some others, like Adobe Connect being another, allows you to have breakout rooms, which if your meeting is larger, if your team or staff meeting is larger, the ability to use breakout rooms is really quite helpful. Just like in a training session, just like in a brainstorming session in a larger team where you might put people in subgroups around a flip chart, having that ability is really, really excellent. So if you're using Zoom, that's one of a thumbs up for that. So the first thing I would say is if your group is large, think about how you can break them up into smaller chunks to do certain things. I've been doing that with a couple of clients where I've been asked to facilitate some meetings during this time, and we've been using those with some success, some regularity, and some success. But what should we do? Well, much like I've been saying to leaders for 3 weeks, is that we need to check in with people, connect with people first, figure out where they're at and how they're doing first before we dive into the work. I think the same may well be true for you in your meetings. Think about what can you do to have a little fun and make it okay for people to feel like we can have a little fun, because a lot of people are in overwhelm right now, right? And so a chance for them to take a breath, a chance for them to have a little fun is really great. Here are a couple of things that I have used for years, pulled out of my back pocket and used in a group. I've now used them both in both of these in a virtual meeting in the last couple of weeks. So I have a couple of there's lots of these things that you could do. Here's a couple of them that I have tried and true, used many times. One is you put up on a slide, or tell everybody, it's better if you can put it on a slide, and say, hey, here's the task. Pick up a pen, pick up a piece of paper, no Alexa, no Google, no Siri. Think of all of the beverages that you can that start with the letter C. The longest list is going to win a prize. You have 3 minutes, go. So it is beverages that start with the letter C. And by the way, there are many, like 80, 90 of them. There's all sorts of them. So there's just a little task for you and your family tonight. Can you come up with 70 or 80 or 90 like Kevin says you can? That's certainly one thing that you can do. Okay. So that's one that I've used, and I love it because there's a tremendous number of answers. Now I like to say it as things people drink, not beverages, because cod liver oil can be on that list and people drink it. They may not want to, and they certainly wouldn't call it a beverage, right? But it could be on that list. I often will do the person that has the most wins a prize, and then give prizes to people that have things that are really unique or really unusual. That's another one that you can use. So here's another same thing, different topic. The other topic is things people eat that are green. Now, again, I don't say foods because there's lots of things that you might not call a food, but people might eat. And so, again, you can do other things like presidents or Disney movies or something like that. But the problem with those is that they're like truly knowledge-based, as opposed to just what can I think of. And no one's going to be at an advantage because they were a history major, or they, have Disney Plus and have been streaming it for 3 weeks or whatever. So, I mean, you can come up with 100 of these kinds of questions. I love those two because I've used them for years and I've used them successfully here. And again, it gives you a chance to get prizes and do some of that stuff. It gets people engaging, that sort of thing. Anything. I did this the other day. I had everyone go around and I said, I should have had the slide up so I could show you quickly. But I said, I'm going to ask everyone to go around the room, the virtual room in this case, and I'm going to ask everyone to share something that you've been doing that's brought you some enjoyment. And it could be an activity, or it could be a game, it could be a movie, it could be anything, right? It could be a series that you've been binging, kind of music you've been listening to. And what I want to do is give people lots of options, because if I just said, tell me the show you're binging, some people aren't. Some people don't do that. Right. So by giving people options, and then what I will do is ask people to go around the room randomly. So I'll go with someone first and have them pick the next person, and then pick the next person, and then pick the next person. So by doing it that way, it engages people. They have to kind of be ready. They never know who's going to be next. And it just is a chance to be engaging and fun. And we can talk about a lot of activities that might have a learning purpose. But Colleen's question was sort of about in our staff meetings, what can we do there's a few ideas that I pull out of my toolkit for you right away, and hopefully they're helpful. Okay. If you got comments about that, you got other ideas, of course, drop them in here. Feel free to do that. But there you go. There's a few thoughts. Okay. Let's see, something that might be coming in. Nope, nothing new. You don't have anything, correct, Marissa?
Nope.
And I don't have anything from the other channels either. You're all being awfully quiet. You can comment about what I'm talking about. You can ask a follow-up question. You can ask me anything you want to ask me, because we are live and we can talk about whatever you want. Libby asked me, though, in the third of my 4 prepared questions for today. Again, all questions that I got yesterday. This one is very specifically about the webinar that I was leading yesterday. Libby said, what do you do if you have a proactive mindset, but your company has a preventative mindset? So let me back up and tell you a little bit about that mindset pair for a second, as I talked about it yesterday in this webinar. And basically, if you have more of a preventative mindset, you're wanting to make sure we don't fail. You're wanting to be safe. You're wanting to make sure the boat doesn't sink. If you have a proactive mindset, you're saying, what can we try? What can we do? How can we try to make sure we win, as opposed to not losing? It's sort of the idea, are we playing to win or are we playing to not lose? And so we talked about yesterday how the proactive mindset is more powerful for us most of the time, certainly for us now. And even though many people are moving back into that preventative mindset. So Libby's question is a good one. If those around you, or if your company or your team is kind of wanting to play it closer to the vest, a little worried, a little concerned, not wanting to conserve, whatever that looks like, and you have a different one, my suggestion to you is this: don't lord it over them like I'm smarter than you and I've got the right mindset and you've got the wrong one, because first of all, it's not true necessarily. And secondly, if you really do want to help people shift, or at least to see some other options to consider, I actually had a conversation yesterday with a client that wanted to get the team to consider the other direction, at least for a minute, and they couldn't get them to do that. But let's just say, if you're trying to get people to shift their mindset, that what you need to do is ask questions to understand why they see it the way they do. Not questions of judgment, questions of curiosity, and not questions critical, but questions curious. And so if you will take that approach to understand what they see, we talked yesterday about mindsets being mental lenses. And so once I understand what they see, then I'm in a position to maybe help them see something else. But if we start from, well, that's not what I see, and you start from this place of really from judgment, or let me fix you, you're less likely to be successful, right? So come at it from curiosity, come at it from helping. I'm seeing something different. Let's talk. Can we talk about that? At least see what that might look like, and you might have a greater success. All right. So maybe that's helpful. All right. I have one more, unless you all join in by sending me a question. I've got one more for you today. And then I'll tell you a little bit again about tonight and wrap up for today. Okay. Melinda asked me this yesterday. She said, being able to put my thoughts into actions can be very difficult at times. Do you have any suggestions? And so she's responding to this picture that I showed yesterday. It's very small up there, and I'm sorry, but I didn't have a way to make it larger. Here's in the short term. So here's the deal. That little picture up there has 2 words with arrows going around in a circle. Thoughts on the top, actions on the bottom. So Melinda's asking the question. It says, I'm having trouble converting my thoughts into actions. Can be difficult. Well, I don't know what Melinda's thoughts are, but I can say this, that generally speaking, our thoughts do turn into our actions over time, but we are filtering and we are stopping ourselves and whatever. And so what I would say is, if you really want to take action on those thoughts, let's say that those thoughts are really positive and you are thinking about things in a proactive manner, or you're thinking about things from a growth mindset, but you're filtering yourself, you're stopping yourself, you're putting on the brakes, then I would say just keep filling yourself with those positive thoughts, with the thoughts of where you want to go, number 1. And number 2, ask yourself internally, why am I putting on the brakes? Why am I stopping? What's keeping me from moving forward? Now, sometimes we want to put those brakes on. Like if our thoughts are really negative, if we're having some sort of thoughts in anger, we may want to be putting on our brakes and not immediately going from thoughts to actions. But I know that Melinda's question, while I don't know her exact thoughts, her struggle was, how do I take action on the things I am thinking about? And I'm going to assume that they're positive. If that's the case, then I would say keep putting those thoughts in. Keep using the right inputs that will reinforce that thinking that might help improve your confidence to try it. But then ask yourself the question, or ask someone that you trust highly, maybe a coach, a mentor, a close friend. Say, hey, I'm having trouble actually taking these actions. Can you help me think that through? Or self-reflect on why am I putting on the brakes? Why am I filtering? Why am I stopping myself from taking this action that I believe would be valuable for me? Again, not necessarily a remote only question, but hopefully that's helpful. And I see that I've got something that's coming in. Let's see. Miss Deb. Hello, Miss Deb. I'm going to put your question right up on here. Here's the comment. Deborah says, what about helping others with that, getting thoughts into actions? Yeah, so that's true. So maybe it's not me having that trouble, but I want to help others do that. So I think that's what that question means. If I don't quite have it, tell me. But what I would say is go back to where we started earlier. Ask questions. Why are you putting on the brakes? What are the things that are holding you back? So let's just say that it was with Deborah that let's say she was with me here live, right? So I would say something like, so Deborah, you really are feeling, you have some things you want to accomplish, but you're not actually taking any action. Why is that? What's stopping you? What's in the way? Is there anything I can do to help? So you just want to help shine a light on the reticence or the resistance or the fear or whatever it is. It could be lots of reasons why I'm stopping, putting on the brakes. And so, or in this case that you would be. So I've got to work through, help you see it and be your sounding board. Ask some questions. Really, that's a coaching kind of question. Okay. All right. Let's see. And Marissa, I'm going to move Deborah's question off here. Deborah, if you're still here and you've got a follow-up or that's not quite it, say a little bit more in the comments if you would. But in the meantime, Marissa says she has a question from LinkedIn. So lay it on us, Marissa.
I do. Says Kevin, it's from Shannon Littlejohn Smith, and says, Kevin, how would you tackle taking a leadership in-person program and start to move it to an online platform? What is the first thing you would focus on?
Shannon is not asking a hypothetical question. I know Shannon. Hello, Shannon. So the question is, I've got this really good in-person leadership thing that I deliver. And now I have to deliver it virtually. What would you do first? I'm glad you didn't want me to give you a whole plan right here, Shannon, because I'm not sure I could do it all at one shot. But there's a lot of people that are probably watching this or will watch this that are trainers, that are in HR, it may not be leadership, it may be something else. But how do we make that transition? And I don't know about the very first thing, but the first thing I'll give you like 3 or 4 things that come to my head immediately. Okay. One of them is making sure that my instructors, my facilitators are going to be comfortable in a new environment. And that might be some asynchronous stuff using email or other tools, as well as what we're doing right here. So you got to make sure that the people that are going to be on the delivery end are comfortable with it. That's different than I've been on a lot of Zoom calls in the last 3 weeks, right? We're actually in a better place for this in some ways because all of your participants are probably more comfortable with all of this stuff than they were a month ago. So that part is probably good. Make sure your instructors are comfortable and skilled and ready for it. That's one thing. The next thing is, let's make sure that the content is still relevant. Now, I'm sure whatever content you have is great. And we don't know how long we're going to be living in this brave new world, right? And so if we're going to be getting started right now, and if you're already thinking we're going to do it virtually, that means you're already thinking we're going to be in this world for a while. So I'd be looking at my learning objectives or my content, and I'd be thinking about, are there things that are now more important that we want to put in right now? We may take them out. We may take them out in 8 months or 10 months or whenever we're back to normal and having classes face to face. But are there any things that I need to make sure we put in to be fully relevant for our folks now? So I would think about that. And then the third first thing, how about that? The third first thing is looking at the content and saying, what are the pieces that are going to be the hardest to translate into a virtual environment, and focus my attention there? Because some of the things probably aren't going to be too hard to do. Like if you've got a 45-minute session that's largely PowerPoint slides, you can go there with this without a whole lot of changes, right? But you got to think through the interaction. You got to think through those things. I would say think about tools that have breakout rooms that allow you to do the kinds of things that Shannon, in your case, I know you would do in a classroom setting. And so you want to think about the tools in that. But I would probably, once I have the lay of the land, I'd look to the things where I think it's going to be the hardest and work on redesigning those pieces first, or doing whatever you can do. And so what I will say to Shannon, and what I will say to all of you, that if that's an area that you need help with, we can help. Let us know. And I'm going to put something in here, and Marissa, you can do the same thing on LinkedIn. info@Kevin Eikenberry. I can type without my glasses. That'll be a real question. info@kevineikenberry.com is you can send an email and say, hey, Kevin said I could get a little time with him to talk about that. So please do that. It looks like I spelled it right. info@kevineikenberry.com. So if we can help with that, let us know. If you've got other broader questions around all of this remote work, remote leadership, and I would say this, people are starting to figure out how to work from home, but we haven't yet figured out how to be a truly remote team yet. And so if we can help you with that, let us know. We'd be happy to do that. I've been doing these here, I think I said like the 19th one of these. We've been doing them on LinkedIn for a week now. We've been doing them on Facebook longer. We've added YouTube this week. And we've been doing them all this week at noon Eastern time. Tomorrow, no noon Eastern time, because tomorrow we're doing the final segment of a mini series of webinars that we led that includes a live Q&A for all of the 2,500 people that registered for that. So I won't be here live tomorrow because at 2 o'clock, I'll be working with a group answering live questions. But here's the thing. If you didn't watch this live and you watched it later, we'll be back next week on wherever channel you're at. You'll see the notes, and I can say for sure I'll be here on Monday, and we'll take it from there one at a time. But if you have questions, man, you've got to tell us what they are. You can put them right here in the comments. You can send them to info@kevineikenberry.com, and we'll add them to the queue of questions for next week. Again, final comments about anything else you've got, Marissa, before we wrap up?
Nope. Nothing here.
I didn't think so, because you would have alerted me, but I thought I'd just triple check. So before I go, last thing, if whatever platform you're on, at 7 o'clock tonight, I'll be back, and we'll be doing what we're calling juggling balls you can't drop. How to be a successful parent, employee, teacher, and spouse without going crazy. And we're going to do that tonight, completely free, all here. You can also go to kevineikenberry.com/live, or if you want to share it with somebody and you don't know how they're going to tell them how to find me on LinkedIn or wherever, kevineikenberry.com/live. We'll have it streaming live there as well. We'd love to have you join us. Anyone who's in that moment that's challenged by that, I hope that you'll join us. We're talking about how to wear the different hats that we have to wear and how to wear them and get past some of the overwhelm and have hopefully some success. And looking forward to that tonight. And I want to thank you for being here today, whether you were here live or later. And I hope you'll be back next Monday, same bat time, same bat channel, where we'll do it again. But until then, please be safe, be well, and be remarkable. We'll talk to you all soon.